Mr. Chair, or I'm the,
Thanks,
I'm
Tim.
the chair now.
Thanks, Tim. Dr. Toussaint, you're an orthopedic surgeon, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Where'd you go to med school?
I went to medical school at NYU, sir.
Okay. And you were, I think you said you were at the top of your class.
Yes, sir.
And then you trained at Harvard.
That is correct.
And then you joined other orthopods in a practice, right?
That is correct.
How many orthopedic surgeons were in your class? Were in your practice, rather?
I don't recall the number of orthopedic surgeons specifically, but there were approximately 25 partners within the
Okay.
group.
And you were a partner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a private equity company came in and said they wanted to buy you. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you and your partner sold, right?
That is correct.
And they paid you a bunch of money, right?
They paid me some money, sir. That is correct.
Yeah. How much did you walk away with?
I walked away with nothing.
No, when they bought your practice, you were a partner. You were paid, right?
Right at that point, sir, I did not walk away, but I was.
Well, I didn't strike the walk away. How much did you personally gain from the sale to the private equity group?
I'm not allowed to disclose the details of the transaction, sir.
Was it over? Why not?
Because that is part of the transaction's restrictive agreement, sir.
Was it over $1 million?
I'm not allowed to say, sir.
Was it over $2 million?
I'm not allowed to say the
It
amount.
was a lot of money, though, wasn't it?
I do not believe it was worth my freedom, sir.
But you did at the time.
I did not, sir,
Okay. Why'd you sign the agreement?
because it was, for the lack of a better term, I was compelled to sign the agreement in order to fall in line with the group, sir.
Here's why I think you signed the agreement, and I don't mean to offend you.
It's okay.
I've seen these kind of transactions before. This is going on all over the country.
That is correct.
I think the private equity group came in and offered you and your partners a huge sum of money in the millions. And I think you took it. And I think later you regretted it. And you wanted out of the deal. And I think that's violates the freedom of contract. And I will bet, no offense, doctor, but I will bet that you wouldn't be willing to give back the millions of dollars that you took away from the sale in order to get back your freedom to practice.
Can I respond?
Sure.
If I may respond, thank you for the opportunity to respond to your question, sir. I have to say that, number one, I was not in favor of the sale. That's number one. And then number two, I have to disagree with your final statement without giving away any details. But I can say in my personal experience that is false, sir.
Okay. You took the money, though, didn't you?
The thing that I disagree with, sir, is whether or not I gave it back.
Yeah, but did you take the money?
I gave it back, sir.
You gave back all the money that the private equity group paid you.
As part of the
Is that your testimony?
as part of the settlement, I have to say that I had to buy out of the non-compete.
Yeah, I don't want to play game stock, but
Yes, sir.
when the private equity guys came in and said, we want to buy you out, you might have disagreed with your partners, but it sounds like they outvoted you.
That's correct.
You could have left the practice then. You chose not to. You chose to take the money, did you not?
If I chose to leave the practice, sir, I would have had to leave
I understand.
the state.
I get that. But you took the money, did you not?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Doctor, let's suppose that Elon Musk decided to leave Tesla. General Motors hired him away. Said, we'll pay you $50 billion a year because we, General Motors, are sucking wind. And they are. But if we sign you up, we want an employment contract, and we're going to show you all our intellectual property, and we're going to insist that you sign a non-compete agreement. Now, you got General Motors, you got Elon Musk, one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest, people in the world. Why should those two not be allowed to negotiate an employment contract, including a non-compete agreement?
As I explained to Ms. Smith, I'm less worried about wage-suppressing effects of non-competes on very high-wage workers. Obviously, Elon Musk would be able to negotiate a non-compete with a new employer. He
Would
has
you have
incredible.
any problem saying that's okay?
There are other options for
But would you have a
GM.
problem?
I would have a deep problem with saying that's okay because what we're
You're
talking
just against all non-competes.
because of their effects on the economy, their effects on negative effects on workers, negative effects on consumers, and negative effects on the economy more broadly.
I just don't think you're very objective. I don't think you're a very objective witness. It's been my experience that most of these issues, there are always two sides. And no offense, you're entitled to your opinion. I enjoyed listening to you, but I can tell from your breathless presentation that you just feel passionately about this, and I respect that, but I think you're kind of blinded by your ideology. That's just my point of view. But I thank you for being here. And I went way over. Give Tina more time. Because she stayed within her limits, and I went way over. And I got to go vote. All right. Mr. Director, good to see you.
Same.
Thanks for coming. I always enjoy your testimony. When I look for a common thread running throughout your testimony, and I look at your agency's behavior, one of the common threads I see is that, and I'm not going to ask you to comment on this, is that in your judgment, some companies in America are making too much money. Now, when you analyze their financial statements, do you not?
Sure.
Do you distinguish between revenue and earnings when you analyze a financial statement?
Well, sure. We look at all things, and I would say that we
What's
don't
the
think of
difference
too much
between
money.
revenue and earnings?
Well, these are all used colloquially. Sometimes those are similar. In GAAP accounting, which is what most U.S. companies use.
Don't
they use
tell me
net-
about GAAP. Just tell me your understanding of the difference between revenue and earnings.
Well, I can share with you revenue and net income. So those are the two factors that when you say are on financial statements.
Earnings is another word for net income.
Well, earnings can be used for many different things, but in generally accepted accounting principles, net income is what all of our banks are really using.
Okay. Well, revenue is before expenses, and earnings, net income, is after expenses. Is that
No, I think like when people go to work, they say my earnings were this. I mean that's their salary. So I think we tend to look
No,
at
I'm not
accounting
talking.
definitions.
They may say that, but when you analyze a financial statement, you look at expenses, don't you? You don't just equate revenue with earnings, do you?
Oh, totally. And I think your
Okay,
suggestion that we think companies are too profitable, we think about competition.
I understand.
What are the options people have
Here's
in order
what
to?
Here's what is confusing me. We all know, unless you were playing Frisbee in the quad during Econ 101 or Accounting 101, there's a difference between revenue and earnings. I want to ask about the way you're funded. I looked at Congress's statute. I'm looking for it here. It says, here's how you're funded. And you just won your lawsuit in the Supreme Court. Each year, beginning on the designated transfer date, in each quarter thereafter, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, where you get your money, shall transfer to your agency from the combined earnings of the Federal Reserve System the amount determined by the director to be reasonably necessary to carry out the authorities of the Bureau. It says the combined earnings, not the revenue. Now, for the longest time, the Federal Reserve was earning money, but that stopped in September of 2022? Now, they are losing money. They don't have any earnings. They're no longer transferring earnings to the general fund. And the Supreme Court based its decision on saying that this funding scheme is constitutional under the Appropriations Clause by saying that these earnings would go to the general fund from the Federal Reserve, so getting them directly from the general fund is no big deal. How are you entitled to any money right now? The Federal Reserve doesn't have any earnings.
Well, we've heard of this theory. I think it's one of the latest
It's not a
ones that's
theory.
being
It's a
pushed.
congressional
Well,
statute.
I think there's you raise the difference between revenue and net income. There are other places throughout our laws. I can tell you we've looked at this issue. We do believe wholeheartedly everyone is complying with the statute.
I know you believe that, but if you look at
I'm aware with what you said.
If you
revenue and net
if you
income.
read if I could just finish my question.
Sure.
If you read the opinion, and I did, and you read the statute, it says here, bigger than Dallas, you can only get your money from the Federal Reserve out of earnings. Now, the Federal Reserve has not had any earnings since September of 2022. Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Sure, it's
From a
correct.
net income
All you
perspective,
have to do is
you're
go-
right.
is go-
But they've
go-
generated lots
go
of
ask
fees
OMB.
and income. And I appreciate what you're saying. I'm happy to discuss this with you, but I think we've looked at this.
My point is, every penny you've gotten under this congressional
I don't think
statute,
Congress wanted
every
the
penny
CFPB to be
that you
suddenly
have gotten, if I could
defunded.
finish my thought.
Sure.
I know you don't like to hear this, but the law is the law. You've been operating illegally.
No, that's not true, sir.
Yes, you have. There have been no earnings. Doesn't this put in jeopardy every one of your rules?
We've heard this
and
theory
every
before, and
one
I'm
of
happy to
and
discuss it.
well, you're going to hear it again because it's the law. We didn't say revenue in the statute. We said earnings. How can you possibly argue that the Federal Reserve has had earnings? They're losing money.
I'm happy to discuss this with you, but we have looked at this theory before.
I know you have, but
Yeah.
I'm over. I'm sorry. Tell me why you're mad at Chase Bank.
You're not that sorry, Senator Kennedy, but go ahead.
You're mad at PayPal and Chase Bank. Can you tell me real quickly before Sharon cuts me off why you're mad
I
now
think
at PayPal and Chase
the
Bank?
concern is that we have seen an incident at PayPal where there was an attempt to censor people based on their speech. We've also seen that those companies are now going to be offering reportedly advertising based on your individual transaction data. I feel some of this is something we all need to figure out
Are
together.
you going to punish every company that has censored people's speech?
No, I do think.
I applaud that part.
Oh, I think
But do
censorship
you have
is
to
a big
approve?
problem.
Senator Kennedy,
You have to
time's
approve the
expired.
speech
Senator-
first?
No, I think
time's
we should.
expired.
I think we're on the same page.
I'm over. I'm sorry. Thanks for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.